Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us for this third session in our 6-week series on zooming in on your job search. As a brief introduction, my name is Susan Pack, and I'm the Director of Career Services here at WVU Tech. I'll be walking you through this third session on I Saw You on Facebook, social media preparation and review. In our previous sessions, we looked at preparing our resumes and cover letters. In this session, we'll be focusing on preparing our social media prior to applying for any opportunities. So you may be asking, why is it important to prepare social media? What I have on Facebook or Twitter doesn't have anything to do with my professional life. It's my personal Facebook and Twitter. If that's the way you feel, it's important to remember a few things. First, 1 in 3 employers have reported rejecting a candidate based on what they found online. It didn't matter if this was their professional or personal Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. The employer found it, they saw it, they reviewed it, and they rejected them as a candidate. Second, for better or for worse, hiring managers are vetting candidates online prior to any interview, with 45% reporting they used information they found online to vet or, to put it simply, pre-screen candidates. This means that even if you have the perfect resume and cover letter, one social media post could eliminate you immediately. When asked about which social media they're checking, 76% of hiring managers stated Facebook, 48% stated LinkedIn, and 53% stated Twitter. Finally, it's also important to remember that social media maintenance doesn't end with getting a job or getting into grad school or anything along those lines, as 34% of employers report they've had to take disciplinary action or fire an employee based off of the content the employee has posted online. With all these items in mind, let's look at how to prepare your social media. So we've looked at the why, now let's look at the how. Logically, I think we can all agree that we can't clean up what we don't know is there. That's why it's important to dig up the dirt by Googling yourself to find out how much digital dirt you've got on the internet. Even if you don't think you've left any dirty footprints all over the digital floor, it's still a good idea to search for yourself in a variety of ways, such as your name, email, and other unique identifiers. This will help you be prepared to answer any questions about anything that might pop up. Because even if you're not eliminated as a candidate, you may still receive questions like, well, I saw this about a Susan Pack from Hinton, West Virginia. So I need to be prepared to answer any questions that may come up about that. So even by Googling my name, I may find out that there are 5 other people with my exact same name from the town I'm from. So there may be things that pop up that aren't actually me, but I need to be aware of that as well. So it's really important to dig up that dirt and Google yourself, find out exactly what's out there. Once we found the digital dirt, in some cases, if it is about us or it is dirt that we've put out there, it's important to scrub away what we can. I admit this is what most people find to be basically the most time consuming and tedious part of a social media cleanup, as very few of the social media platforms make it easy for you to delete content. I think a lot of people have heard if you put it on the internet, it's on the internet forever. It is kind of true, but if you're trying, I know at one point in time I did an Instagram cleanup and it took me hours because you had to delete photos one at a time. So it is time consuming, but it's important. So for this, clean up as many of your incriminating photos or unhappy status updates as you can. Remember, even if you have privacy settings set, you may know someone who knows your potential new employer, and that could gain them access to your content. So going ahead and cleaning up that information, even if you have things set as private, is a good idea. Speaking of those privacy settings, check them. So what is showing as public, what's private? I think a good example is Facebook. Every post you put up, you have an option of who do you want to see this? And there will be times when, as the director of career services, I'll share details from WVU Tech and I'll share that on my personal Facebook page. But then there are things on my personal Facebook page that I make private. if I don't pay attention, sometimes I'll accidentally post something public that I meant to be private and everyone can see it. So it's just important to check and see, all right, what are all of my privacy settings? Are the posts that I think private actually private or are they not? Though you can't guarantee that a situation like I mentioned a minute ago about someone knowing someone doesn't occur, you'll at least know that you tried to remove and or hide the digital dirt that's out there. So now that we've looked at kind of cleaning things up, let's look at a few general setup items. So first off, picture this. So when deciding what picture to use on social media, you want to make sure it's clear, friendly, recent, and most of all, appropriate. So what does appropriate mean? A way you can kind of figure out is look at other people within the industry you're trying to join and see how they're dressed or what they're wearing, kind of their backgrounds, what you may see. We're not saying to like not be yourself, just make sure that you're presenting a version of yourself that looks like someone that an employer would want to hire, not go to a party with. Next, unless you're a spy, use your real name. This is twofold as your social media will automatically look more professional by having your real name listed, and it'll make future employers have an easier time of finding you when they're searching for you. Remember to be as consistent as possible across all platforms, and again, keep it professional. So an example is like my LinkedIn is my first name, my middle initial, my last name as of right now. So I could make the same thing across the board. I can say my personal Facebook does not have a professional. It has an old email address that was associated with it, the name or the handle that I used for that. So if I wanted to make my social media more professional, ready for a job search, I could go through and try to make it as close to my name as possible. I have a pretty common name, so a lot of times it's hard to secure those things. So it would be harder to secure Susan Pack on everything, but just making those slight variations and again, keeping it consistent across the board. And finally, just remember you are what you post. So you are in control of your social media, so you can really make it work for you. When you're sharing on your platform and hope fellow professionals see it, include content that's interesting and relevant. Additionally, make sure you're following companies and individuals in the industry you're interested in or working in so you can stay up to date on industry news. This not only demonstrates just the interest you have in the field, but it also helps to expand your network, which if you've listened to any of our other sessions, you'll know networking is very important. Make sure, however, that you are letting your personality shine through, not just repeating what other individuals are saying. This is your social media. It is part of your personal brand. So make sure you're building that. So this will, of course, by having your personality shine through, allow a hiring manager to kind of gauge your fit to an organization's culture before they've spoke to you. So again, something to keep in mind. We're going to finish off looking at the top three social media platforms that we mentioned earlier, and just some quick tips on how to get the most out of those different platforms. So first of all, LinkedIn is making sure to get a custom URL. They are one that it is fairly easy to get that custom URL where you can have it a specific way. Sometimes people add things like if you do have a common name like me, you could add the word "the" beforehand. So you could say the Susan Pack or something along those lines to get that custom URL. If you don't get a custom URL, a lot of times, unless they've changed it, LinkedIn used to just kind of assign random numbers. You don't want that, or just your email address. Again, you don't want that unless it is a professional and it is your name. Then you could, of course, include that, but get that custom URL. Both for LinkedIn and Facebook, just reminding you about pictures speaking loudly and being a way for you to be able to convey more about yourself without saying anything. So we did talk specifically about which pictures you should use and what should be, professional and acceptable or appropriate. But, in LinkedIn and Facebook, you have the banner option on all of those. So you would want to, again, make sure, or the cover photo, whichever way you want to look at it, make sure that you are showing your interest in that as well. Stand out through your headline. A headline is something that when someone's searching for you, they see your name and they see the headline on LinkedIn. Also, it's the first thing they see when they have pulled up right under your name. as an example, there aren't bad headlines, but there are better headlines. So one example could be like, I could have my headline be Director of Career Services at WVU Tech. There's nothing wrong with that headline. It tells you exactly what I do, exactly who I am. But I could have a more unique headline by saying something along the lines of helping college students navigate the path to their future careers. So that's just something that's more attention grabbing and makes me stand out, put some of my personality in there, but still tells people what I do without giving them an exact job title. Because if they scroll down, they'll see that. Mentioning scrolling down, make sure you are filling out everything, but you want to focus on the top 1/3. So get everything as full as possible, fill in all that information. But if there are things that you're just like, I'm not sure, a lot of the things that maybe don't have as much importance on LinkedIn are under the top 1/3 of your screen. And finally, just remember, keep it professional. LinkedIn is the site, the platform that is seen as the quote unquote professional platform. So make sure you're sharing professional references, or excuse me, resources in that area. And just again, making that a very professional platform. It is not where your unique, customized or special self is really going to shine through quite as much as the other two platforms. So speaking of which, on Twitter, this is a great place to show your personality by being a thought leader, where you can share articles about your field, comment on the news in your industry, have conversation with those in your industry. So you are really engaging and sharing how you feel about something, your thoughts on an item, and all of that. But if you happen to create a LinkedIn, let's say in 2017, and haven't touched it since then, you can either use it or lose it. It might be a better thing to just go ahead and delete that Twitter. Excuse me if I said LinkedIn a little bit earlier, meant Twitter, but don't overreact and say, oh, I'm going to post 100 things in one day. It's just as obvious to a hiring manager if you did that as to if it's been unused. And then just like with everywhere else, follow the companies where you'd like to work, and that may give you a connection. As a note, just because you're following a company or maybe even following a hiring manager, it doesn't give you permission to just reach out to them blindly. You need to build that connection between the two of you before you do so. Finally, let's look at Facebook. First of all, don't hide everything. There are certain things that you have no option to hide, such as your profile picture and a couple of About Us things on Facebook. There are things beyond that, however, you can hide almost everything. So you really can leverage your Facebook to show your interest by customizing what you are or are not showing. And I had mentioned this earlier, but make your professional updates public. So like in my case where I was sharing, excuse me, items specifically for WVU Tech, those are professional updates. So I should set those as public, and maybe the 5,000 pictures I post of my dogs, I can set those as private. Everyone doesn't need to see that. So again, making those professional updates public. And once again, like the companies where you'd like to work, expand that network. This lets a hiring manager see, especially if you're showing your liked items. So you just select under privacy settings to have that visible. It shows the hiring manager that you've already went out and done some research on their company prior to ever talking to them. So it shows that you are very interested in their company and their culture and becoming a part of it. And with Facebook, as Facebook tends to be a little more private, more connections that like not but you actually have those connections on Facebook that you're familiar with. You can use your network as a resource. So let people know, put something out there. If you're currently employed, and I know that most people watching this are students, so you don't have to worry about this, but in the future, if you do happen to be currently employed, remember that it could always get back to your current employer if you share, hey, I'm searching for a job. Anybody know of anything? That can get back around and can have consequences. But as a student looking for opportunities, especially if you've got some alumni on your Facebook page or on Facebook, you've connected with them, and you've stayed in contact, you could put that out there like, hi, I'm a chemical engineer. I'm interested in this. Could you help me network with some people who might be looking? Anyone who knows anyone that might be looking for someone, with my background, please let me know. So again, this is kind of using your network as a resource, giving you that opportunity to connect with these people. And again, just leveraging that to use it the best and get the results that you need. If you have any questions or you would like for me to search for you on Google, please feel free to email techcareerservices@mail.wvu.edu. Again, techcareerservices@mail.wvu.edu. We're always here to help you. If you have missed any of our previous presentations, those are available on YouTube now. Just shoot us an email. We'd be happy to send you a link to those videos so you can view them. Hope you guys have a great day, and bye-bye.